Well, hey guys, what's up? It's your boy, one and only AI Legends, and yeah, guys, today I am back with the next part of What If Naruto Was Banished by Konoha, and Konoha finally regrets it. So, yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoy the first part of this series, and if you guys like the series in which Naruto became pretty OP and things like that, then this series is for you, in which you can say Village regrets it and begs Naruto to come back. Those type of series, then this series is for you guys. So, yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed the previous part of it. If you have not seen, please check it out in my channel. And yeah, guys, if you guys are new to this channel or if you guys have not subscribed yet, please guys do so. It will really help me a lot. I'm quite near to 10k and hopefully I will be able to reach it at the end of this month. So yeah, guys, please enjoy the video and subscribe. So without any further ado, let us start the video. Last time we left off as we saw that how Naruto as well as Sasuke were fighting in the Valley of the End, in which this time Naruto was able to win with sheer determination as he was able to knock out Sasuke and finally was able to drag him to the gates of Konoha, after which you can say Naruto was in the hospital, but he realized that how no one was here to greet him or anything like it. But then Sakura came as he started to punch him and started to berate him that how he has heard, and then finally the news was released to Konoha that the law of the third Hokage considering Naruto being a Jinchuriki was finally released, and now that law does not matter anymore as all the you can say the shinobi's younger generation finally came to know that how Naruto was the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, as Naruto's friend did not take it that great after all. You can say that some of them lost family members, such as Kiba lost his father in the Nine Tails attack, same with Choji, whose mother you can say became pretty injured in the Nine Tails attack, and several others were confused, especially Shikamaru, who saw that how when the elders were announcing, as they were putting it as if Naruto was the Nine Tails himself, though he did not believe it. After all, if Naruto was a Nine Tails, third Hokage would have never let him live or anything like it. As in the end, Naruto was literally banished from Konoha after the whole council meeting, and you can say simply putting blame on Naruto and things like it. As now let us cut back to Naruto, who was you can say walking towards the very place, the Valley of the End, as Naruto could easily sense as several Ambus were trailing him after the battle with Sasuke. Naruto was feeling a bit strange about this whole you can say thing, as if he has gained some type of Kekkei Genkai, but Naruto simply shook his head at that. He does not have any Kekkei Genkai, but still, he could sense some of the Anbu were behind him, as Naruto finally came to a stop at a clearing, as he simply looked back towards the trees. Well, to a normal eye, it would look like normal, nothing. You can say out of ordinary, normal, birds everywhere, as Naruto simply narrowed his eyes towards the tree, as the root Ambu were a bit surprised according to their reports, as the Jinchuriki was nothing but weakling and their orders were simple: bring the Jinchuriki back in chains to Konoha so that he could be a servant, a tool for Danzo to use, as Root was going to do just that, as Naruto simply looked towards them. I already know you guys are there, so why not just simply come out, as most of the Root were a bit surprised about it, but then again, they do not have emotions, as all of them landed in front of Naruto as the captain speak up. Jinchuriki, you have been ordered by Lord Danzo to return to the village where you will be put to your proper place to be a weapon for our Lord Danzo. As Naruto simply looked towards him, he already remembered the bandaged mummy who was looking at him like he was a tool, a weapon, or something like it. As Naruto simply scoffed at that, so the Konoha is sending their loyal dogs after me, It was not enough for them that they have beaten me for years, and not even enough when they banished me from Konoha, and now they want me as a weapon, Well, let's see if you can achieve it. As the Root simply shook their head. Uzumaki Naruto, you have been ordered. It is pretty simple. You can come with us, or otherwise we will have to use force. As Naruto simply smirked at that as he said, I have an old history with Ambu. What make you think that if the loyal Ambus of the third Hokage were never able to capture me when I simply paint their headquarters pink and orange, you are going to do so? As the Root did not say anything as they bring out their respective weapons. As Naruto simply smirk at that. Well, now you have to capture me. As Root simply dashes towards Naruto, but it was already too late as Naruto speak out his jutsu, multi-shadow clone jutsu, and then suddenly there were at least 2,000 shadow clones all over the place. As the Root was a bit surprised as they bring out their weapons. As Naruto simply smirk at that, as all of them simply, you can say, gathered into different groups and started to move in opposite direction. As the Root was pretty shocked about it. They could not sense, they do not have a Byakugan. Even if they had, or if they were sensors, they cannot make difference between the original and a shadow clone. As the Root members started to scatter behind different members, but unknown to all of them, there was an innocent looking rock near a small tree. As after 5 minutes, the rock simply poof away as it reverted back into Naruto. As I said, cannot even make a difference between a rock and a transformation. Pretty elite if you ask me. As Naruto simply sighed, he has already sent his shadow clones into different directions. Well, that is interesting. As Naruto could see that one of the Root member has used his fireball jutsu at his clones. As Naruto made a mental note that he remembered whatever the clone do. Well, as for now, he will keep that at back of his head. Right now, he needs a place where he could actually go. As he started to go into the opposite direction in which the other clones simply went off. As while on the other hand, the Root members and the Shadow clones started to fight them, and they were started to get pretty, you can say, on the other side of the pranks. As Naruto had multiple, you can say, a scroll in which the Root members were on defensive, ready for any explosive attack or anything like it. But to their utter surprise, as there were balloons of pink as well as orange paint in it, as the Shadow clones started to throw all these balloons at the Root members, as they were literally surprised. They do not know how to react. After all, they do not have any emotions, but there was a distinctive, you can say, feeling of embarrassment in all of them. Well, that was a new emotion for Root. Well, at least there was a 1 plus. So yeah, as now let us cut back to Naruto. As he was walking into a strange place, it was quite near to the mountainside where most of the shinobi do not bother to go. After all, on the opposite side of it, there is mostly ocean, so they did not bother going there. As Naruto was walking into the town as he has still many places to go before he can reach on the opposite side, not knowing where he actually is going. As Naruto stumbled upon an old man as he bumped into him, as he was already thinking some things, as the old man simply looked towards Naruto as he said, well, young one, mind telling me where are you going? As Naruto simply looked towards him as he said, well, old man, my apologies, I was thinking about something else. As he started to stood up, as the old man looked towards Naruto a bit strangely, as he said, well, as the old man started to speak, you're a shinobi, aren't you, young one? As Naruto simply looked towards him, as he said, well, a former shinobi, if you must say. As the old man simply looked towards him, as he said, well, it seemed that something got bad towards you, huh? As before Naruto could say anything, as his stomach started to grumble a little, as Naruto, you can say, was a bit embarrassed after that, as old man started to laugh, as he said, well, young one, you can come have some noodles at my restaurant. As Naruto was a bit surprised at that, but he did not say anything. After all, he is feeling pretty hungry at the moment. As Naruto simply nodded at that. Now let us cut back to the restaurant as Naruto was simply eating ramen. Thank God, the restaurant had a bit of ramen. Well, it was not that famous of a dish, but to Naruto it was the world. As Naruto simply looked towards him as he said, well, mind telling me that why this town does not have so many people? As the old man simply looked towards him, well, it is mainly because of the next town. As Naruto simply looked towards him and raising an eyebrow as he said, well, young one, you may not know it. Between those two mountains, there is a small town just after it, and it is said to be haunted. As Naruto raised an eyebrow at that, he was a shinobi. What is ghost to him? But then again, secretly, Naruto was pretty scared of the ghost, but as Naruto simply shook his head. What do you mean by that? As old man sighed, as he said, well, you already know, this part of the Elemental Nation, people or shinobi does not come here pretty often. You and I both know that in the opposite side there is only ocean and ocean as far as the eye goes. So there is nothing much to be there. But there was once a shinobi. It was said that he came from the ocean side. I do not know. There used to be a small country, I think there was an island between some water country, but I do not remember it. I was pretty young at that age, but still, after I think second grade ninja war, the shinobi came here after his people were simply slaughtered in the invasion and he started to live there. But after his death, that place became pretty haunted and people started to simply leave that place. It is said that the shinobi was pretty powerful and his ghost still reside there. To be honest, I do not know much about it, but even I, as an old man, has never dared to go near to that town, and it is pretty advisable to not go there, young one. As Naruto started to think for a moment, to be honest, he was pretty scared of the ghost, and to some degree, he started to believe this old man. But at the moment, he's not thinking clearly, as he simply scoffed at that, as he said, "Well, I do not care about the ghosts and things like that." As Naruto said it in a whisper, "After all, I have to deal with the strongest demon there is all the time." As the old man simply did not say anything, as he said, "Well, it is your own choice, young one, but it is advisable to not go near to that town. There are some other towns in the nearby area if you want to go there, but at the moment you should really eat." As Naruto simply nodded at that as he started to eat. Now, let us cut back to Naruto. Now he has only two options. Either he can go to the haunted place or he can simply leave the place. But it was pretty intriguing. A ghost of a shinobi and pretty powerful one. Well, who knows? He might have left something like scrolls or something like it. After all, that place is haunted as well as abandoned for years. Who knows? There could be some secret jutsus there. And Naruto's mind was simply telling him to go there. No matter what. As Naruto simply shook his head as he sighed. Now, he has to make a decision, but once again, he was quite near to the town, but Naruto surprised the wind, which was not there at moment before, started to push him in front of the town. As Naruto was a bit surprised, he was a shinobi. No matter how bad people may say it, he could see when something is out of the place. As he looked around to see if someone was trying to, you can say, use wind jutsu on him, but to his surprise, he was sensing no one. But this wind was definitely pushing him towards the town. As Naruto sighed, well, might as well try it. After all, what is there to lose? He was a shinobi, and if worst thing comes, he can easily leave, and there is Nine Tails, so there is little chance that some ghost is going to attack him when he has a demon in his gut. So might as try it. As Naruto started to walk into the town, now he was finally inside of the town and a bit regretting his choice. The night time was already coming. As Naruto was looking around, they were all broken houses all over the place and pretty old houses to begin with. Well, not like Konoha. At the thought of Konoha, as Naruto's eyes flashed into red for a moment of the ninth chakra, as Naruto did not knew that he has did this much anger towards his former home. But then again, the place who betrayed his trust and the place where he has gotten beaten for years has, well, it is only fair that he has some hatred towards that place. As Naruto simply shook his head as he started to walk once again in a direction, but then again, wind started to, you can say, push him towards a specific direction. As Naruto grumbled something about stupid air as he started to walk towards that direction, and he was a bit surprised to see pretty, you can say, a house was there, and compared to the others, it was pretty great in condition. As Naruto sighed, now looking at the place, and once again he decided to leave, not go there. But once again the wind started to push him even further. As Naruto sighed as he said, "Damn it, alright, I'm going there, you stupid air." As Naruto simply started to, you can say, move towards the direction of the house. As Naruto sighed, each and every step there was a voice, and he could sense that this house is not stable as it looks, and it seemed that it could crumble at any moment. But at the moment, wind was pushing him at this direction, and he has to come here, as a sigh once again. As Naruto finally opened the door, as he was simply looking into nothing but darkness as Naruto was still thinking of moving around and running out of the town. But still, a bit of courage and a determination. After all, who knows, this could be the house of the shinobi who must have left some scrolls and something behind at least so that Naruto could learn some jutsu he still does not know as if someone will come after him or not. But one thing is for sure, as the hidden leaf village is hunting him down and he simply cannot let them to catch him. If they want to play something like a prey, then he will be the predator no matter what, and that is a promise. As Naruto simply started to walk into the place not knowing what is all around him, and the moment Naruto stepped into the place, as several lines simply started to, you can say, move into the body towards the body of Naruto as Naruto was pretty shocked as he was covered all over the seal. But then suddenly, as Naruto's chakra was being absorbed, at that, as Naruto let out a scream of pain, but then suddenly all the lining that were moving across his body stopped and retreated, you can say, moved back into the ground as Naruto was at this moment was more than ready to run out of the place. But then suddenly, as the door simply shut close and all the players simply started to line up with different type of seals as Naruto was still looking around and trying to move towards the door, but damn it, it was not moving. As Naruto looked back to see, a bit surprised as the whole place was now glowing with different type of seals if he is not mistaken. But then suddenly all the thing lighten up as Naruto started to move as only one, you can say, a small chakra glow was forming in the center of the place as Naruto could feel that a bit of his own chakra, but then it's now suddenly changed into a small scroll as Naruto was pretty skeptical about this whole thing as Naruto started to walk towards the place as pretty cautiously towards the scroll as Naruto finally grabbed it, checking it for something once again as Naruto sighed as he grabbed the handle. Who knows, this could be the scroll which the old shinobi must have left, and now Naruto has it and he was wondering about some super cool jutsus or something like it. As well, good thing the stupid fox was being silent as Naruto sighed as he started to open the lid of the scroll. But then suddenly Naruto's chakra once again was getting absorbed into the scroll as Naruto let out a small scream once again as his chakra was being absorbed at a greater rate. At this point, Naruto has lost already more than half of his chakra, and that was saying something as Naruto has cage level reserves. As Naruto finally, suddenly, all the chakra absorption stopped and once again started to refill his coils, as Naruto was pretty surprised at that. But then suddenly the scroll finally opened as Naruto was once again pretty cautious but decided to read it. As Naruto started to read, well, if you have been able to reach at this place, then I must congratulate you on that, but your trials are not completed just yet. At this point, you have been able to pass the town as well as the genjutsu I have placed there, and the suggestive genjutsu saying that this place is haunted has been passed by you. Your blood as well as your chakra has been identified. Now, it's only the last stage of the test, and if you're able to pass it, then you will have the power of the legend who once became the Black Dragon of Uzushio, as you will have the power as well as the weapon and the training for it, but you must pass the trials of the heart and the soul. As Naruto gulped at that, put a small amount of blood at it, and the trials shall begin. But I must warn you, if you are not seen worthy enough, you will be killed at this point. As Naruto gulped at that, he was pretty skeptical about this small seal that was, you can say, simply looking at him innocently. But Naruto knew that this seal has the potential to literally kill him. As Naruto sighed, well, he has nothing to lose to begin with. After all, he has no home, no friends, and no nothing. So, there is nothing much to lose. So yeah, why not try it out? Who knows, he could become pretty strong. And this word Uzushio, the black dragon of Uzushio, pretty interesting. As Naruto simply bit his thumb and then started to put it on the small seal. As Naruto could see once again, his chakra was being absorbed into it as Naruto shut his eyes closed. Now, let us cut back to Konoha as Jiraiya was simply looking towards Tsunade, pretty shocked as Tsunade has explained the whole situation that the whole Naruto was banished from Konoha as Jiraiya was livid at it as he glared towards Tsunade. You say what? Naruto is banished from Konoha. How? When? And why didn't you tell me, damn it? As he slammed his hand into the table, breaking it apart as Tsunade sighed. As she simply looked towards Jiraiya with small tears in her eyes as she said, well, I try my best, but the civilian and the council has decided it. As Jiraiya simply looked towards her. You're the Hokage. You have the authority to override the council if you want it. As Tsunade said, damn Sarutobi sensei, it is because of him. As Jiraiya was a bit surprised at that. What do you mean by that? As she started to explain the situation about the whole council and Sarutobi sensei has passed the law simply making the Hokage a figurehead, nothing more than that. Hell, she does not even have a say if there is going on a trial of a missing nin or a traitor or someone to banish or exile, saying something about the Hokage cannot show favoritism and simply you can say remove the vote of the Hokage itself. Only the council can decide it. As Jiraiya's eyes widened at that, what was Sarutobi Sensei thinking to begin with? As Jiraiya simply shook his head as he growled at that and as he said, alright, I'm leaving. As Tsunade simply looked towards him, and where do you think you're leaving, Jiraiya? As Jiraiya said, I'm going to find Naruto. And you already know the Akatsuki is after him. I have to find him and I will offer him to train him even if he cannot live in this village. I'm his godfather. I have to be there for him at least after all of this year. I have to train him at the very least. As soon as I saw, she said, well Jiraiya, it is up to you. But remember, the council as well as the elders will not have it. As Jiraiya scoffed, as if I care about them. As he simply jumped out of the window ready to go for its search. As now let us cut back to Danzo, who was in his underground route, as well as both of the elders were behind him, as both of them had smirks in their faces, as they simply looked towards Danzo, as they said, so the weapon is coming, isn't it? As Danzo simply smirked at that, of course, I have sent my best member to capture that Jinchuriki and after it, we will mold him into a perfect weapon for us to use and then it will be only the matter of time. We have already destroyed all the power of the Hokage and Tsunade, she's just a kid. We can easily play her with politics. As both the elders smirk at that, after it, Konoha will be the only village who will rule the world. As both of the elders smirk at that, as then they could hear some of the footsteps were coming towards them, as all of them, as they simply came to the light, as Danzo and the elders were to waiting for their weapon so that they can finally mold the Jinchuriki into the perfect weapon he could be made. But look towards their utter horror and shock when, especially to the Danzo, when 6 of his root members arrived in front of him painted in pink and orange. As Danzo simply looked towards them as well as the elder in utter shock as the pure anger took over Danzo, which he never let it. But this time this was different as he was already dreading what could have gone wrong. As he simply looked towards them, report. As the captain started to speak, well, Lord Danzo, wait, it seemed that our mission was a failure. As then there was a dead silence as both of the elders were looking as if they were about to have heart attack. As Danzo simply looked towards him. What do you mean by that? As this report in complete detail. As the root Ambu simply nodded at that. Well, Lord Danzo, after he left the village, he was going towards the Valley of the End and we were trailing him. But to our surprise, he was able to sense us. As Danzo raised an eyebrow at that, there were no reports that the weapon or the Jinchuriki was a sensor, but he simply shook his head as he said, so he's a sensor, huh? As he said, well, Lord Danzo, he was able to point us out, and we thought that we were far away from the village, so it's about time we captured the Jinchuriki. So we came in front of him and started to circle him, but then he simply accused us and started to say that how if we really think that if the Ambu root quarter cannot grab him or cannot simply capture him when he painted all of them into orange, then we think that we can capture him. At this, Danzo eyes narrowed as he gritted his teeth, as he forgot about that detail. He remembered when the elite ambush of the Hiruzen, which you can say with pretty anger, he can say that were greater than his own root members. After all, they does have more S rank missions as well as some other A high rank missions. As he simply shook his head, and after it, he proceeded to make at least 2000 shadow clones, and all of them scattered into different directions. As we started to follow them, we started to dispel as much as we can, but most of them were able to escape from the place. And they started to attack us with water. We thought that water balloons, but they were paint as you can already see, Lord Danzo. As Danzo simply looked towards them, as both of the elders were shaking with utter anger. How could this even happen? Danzo promised them that how they will have the perfect weapon if we simply banish the Jinchuriki, as it was pretty easy to convince some of the Shinobi Council members as well as the Civilian Council member were more than happy about it. So it was pretty easy for them, as Danzo simply looked towards them with pure utter rage as he said, dismiss and bring me as much members of the root squad as you can and search for the Jinchuriki. As all of them simply nodded and then simply went off. As Koharu speak up, Danzo, what is the meaning of this? You're saying that how a whole squad of your root Ambu were not able to capture a Genin who was not even worth the training of most of the people in this village, not trained in the academy, not even trained by Hatake Kakashi, and definitely the training which he got from Jiraiya should not have more than enough for him to escape the root members. As Danzo cuts his mind, forgetting about the ability of the Jinchuriki to use so many shadow clones, so it would only be confusing for his root member who were only, even though considered a squad, but still only 6 members, and even in the terms they were barely low Jonin level with all the training because they do not have any creativity, they only follow a single pattern. So it was pretty hard for them as well. As Danzo cursed, as Hamura speak up, Danzo, remember, we only banished the Jinchuriki, and you and I both know what will happen if the news spread across the elemental nations that how Konoha does not have its Jinchuriki, and after the invasion of sand and sound, we will be targeted. You promised us that we will have our perfect weapon, and it is up to you, Danzo. We simply Konoha cannot lose its only Jinchuriki. As Danzo cursed under his breath, he's losing favors with the elder and he cannot have it. He will lose so much support in the council. As he said, don't worry about it, Koharu. Hamura, soon enough, my root will be able to track down the Jinchuriki no matter how far he go. His survival skills are next to nothing, so it is only the matter of time. He will be captured by my root and molded into the perfect weapon. As Koharu speak up, well, it better should be Danzo. As both of them simply started to went away as Danzo cursed under his breath. He has to capture the Jinchuriki no matter what. Now let us cut back to Naruto as Naruto was simply looking towards the steel who has already spread it all across his body. And then it finally started to recede back into the small paper who simply, you can say, all the content in it simply vanished, and then new content started to, you can say, appear as a small seal started to, you can say, appear at the feet of Naruto as Naruto simply poof away, and the innocent looking scroll with no content in it also vanished as all the place which was lighting, you can say, previously was returned back into a house which was ready to collapse at any given moment. As Naruto grumbled at that, he opened his eyes and looked around at every place, wondering where he actually is, as he could only see darkness and there is only small light at the opposite side of this small tunnel in which he was. As Naruto grumbled, as he started to walk towards the light, after all, it was pretty obvious and already, you can say, concluded that it was a bad idea to come to this town. He should have left for some other place. Hell, he should have left for the wave country or something like this. As Naruto started to walk towards the light, as he finally arrived to see a large, really large hall. As Naruto was simply looking around all the place as if it was, you can say, some type of stadium or something like it. As Naruto simply shook his head as his eyes finally landed on a person who was sitting and, you can say, in a meditative pose with a small hoodie on his face covering all of his face. As Naruto was a bit skeptical going there. After all, he was a shinobi and his shinobi instinct was screaming at him to run away or to hide or be ready for a fight if there is to be. As Naruto simply was more than ready, as he already had bring out his kunai, as he simply started to walk towards him, as he said, "Who are you? And where am I?" As Naruto was waiting for an answer, and then the person, still in a meditative mode, started to speak. Uzumaki Naruto, quite interesting life you have lived. Pretty interesting, if I must say. So this is left of my lineage. Hmm. If I must say, I'm not impressed, as Naruto simply looked towards him, quite shocked as well as a bit scared at the same time. That voice was pretty, you can say, rough at that, as Naruto simply looked towards him. And then his, you can say, mind got to the part of lineage. What is he talking about? As he said, what do you mean by that? And how do you know of my life? Are you a member of the root of that stupid mummy Danzo? As the old man started, you can say, the hooded figure started to chuckle at that as he said, well, I'm not a member of the Hidden Leaf Village if you're worried about that, especially not a member of that mummy you call Danzo. As Naruto simply looked towards him, and then who are you? And where am I? Then you can say, suddenly, the pure utter horror came to the face of Naruto. You're the ghost of this town, right? Well, I will not be taken down that easily. Tatebayo. As Naruto simply looked towards him, as the figure simply started to chuckle. Ghost? Huh. Well, many may call me that, after all, when they do not know a single thing about the seals and my mastery over them. As the figure started to stood up, and as for you, Uzumaki, well, pretty intriguing, as the figure was standing behind Naruto as casually as it can, as if you can say leaning behind the back of Naruto and looking into the opposite direction as Naruto was about to move and you can say use his kunai, but to his surprise, both of his kunais were missing as the figure was rotating them into different, you can say, in his finger. Pretty rusty kunai if you ask me. It seems that the standard of the kunai has fallen. Or, but then again, you are a Jinchuriki, so these kunais must be strawberry huh? Well, not surprising there. After witnessing your life, it was pretty interesting, if I must say, as Naruto was taken aback from it as he simply jumped out of the way. Who are you? As the figure simply looked towards him, as he said, well, without any further ado, let's simply go to the main point. Who am I, you may ask me. But the main question here is, who are you? Or rather, who you want to be. As Naruto was taken aback from it, as he said, how do you know my life in Konoha? If you're not a member of that root, you're covering your face. It is only fair enough that you're a part of that root. As the figure started to chuckle as he said, well, without any further ado, allow me to introduce myself, young Uzumaki. You have already passed the exams which I said before you before coming here, so it is only fair that I tell you who am I. As the figure simply grabbed his hoodie and then simply pull it back. My name is, as you can say, the green eyes of the figure were looking towards Naruto as if judging him with calculative eye and have red as well as white hair on his head. As he said, my name is Arashi Uzumaki and I'm the Black Dragon of Uzushio Gakure. As Naruto simply looked towards him with, you can say, sudden surprise and shock, and Uzumaki, which means that his family, but, as he was not a part of clan, was he? As after all, Tadokage never told him that he had a clan. As Arashi simply looked towards him with calculative eyes. Pretty interesting. Well, young Uzumaki, we have much to discuss. As Naruto simply looked towards him, as he said, especially about that tenant of yours. As Naruto's eyes widened, as he was taken aback from it. You know about the Nine Tails, and how is that? Damn it, just tell me who the hell you are, and what do you mean by Uzumaki? There are no Uzumakis, only I am left, especially in the village. And what do you mean that we were a part of clan? As Arashi simply looked towards him, as he said, well, allow me to introduce myself formally. You can say that I am an old man. Well, from a long ago, there was a whole village of the Uzumaki clan known as the Uzushio Gakure. But unfortunately, we were all killed off, especially betrayed, in the Second Great Ninja War. So, that was the day in which our hometown simply was fallen. As Naruto was listening, quite you can say with interest as well as a bit of shock, as he never knew that he had a family. Now let us cut back to Konoha as Jiraiya was ready to jump out of the window, as Tsunade simply looked towards him and said, Jiraiya, bring him back, and took care of him. As Jiraiya said, yeah, I intend to, and I will. No, you don't. As both of them simply looked back as the door opened, as some people walk in, as Jiraiya and Tsunade could not believe their eyes. How? When? It is not possible. As Jiraiya could utter a single word, Minato. As now let us cut back to Naruto, who was simply looking towards Arashi as his eyes widened, as he just, you can say, took in all the information that was there and about the whole situation. As Naruto could not believe it, he had a family in Uzushio. He had a whole village of the Uzumakis, but it is not possible, right? As he was the last Uzumaki, as he simply looked towards him, as Arashi simply looked towards him with calculative eyes, and so we were betrayed by a single Uzumaki who was simply bought, you can say. I do not know how they did it, but still, they were able to took the loyalty of that single Uzumaki who, you can say, release the information about our hometown, about everything, about how our people, you can say, had security and things. And that Uzumaki was Kushina Uzumaki, your mother. As Naruto's eyes widened, as he simply looked towards Arashi in utter shock, as he said, what do you mean by that? It is not possible. You're just telling the lie. As Arashi simply looked towards him, your mother and my little sister. As Naruto was once again taken aback from it. This guy was his uncle, but how? It is not possible, damn it. As Arashi simply looked towards Naruto as he said, so this is the truth of the Uzumaki clan. Now it's about time for your own truth, especially your family's truth. As Naruto simply looked towards him in utter shock as he said, you know my family? About my... As then it clicked in, he talked about Kushina. As he simply looked towards him. When you entered in this specific dimension, Uzumaki Naruto, I go through your life and your memories, even those memories which were long forgotten when you were just a child. I know the truth of your family, about your parents, about your siblings, and especially about the Nine Tails. As Naruto could not believe it. What is this old man talking about? Well, not definitely an old man, but still, in Naruto's eyes, he was definitely an old guy. As he said, what? What are you talking about? I have no siblings. I cannot understand about my parents, but I definitely do not have any siblings. As Arashi simply looked towards Naruto. Well, young Uzumaki, allow me to make you remember. As Arashi simply put two fingers on the head of Naruto, as Naruto's eyes simply, you can say, got wide open. As the memories when he was just a child, when brain was barely able to, you can say, memorize anything. But most of the people simply forget the simple fact that even those things which a child of barely 1 or 2 days old see could be feed in his mind. It is just that the mind is unable to remember it, but it does not mean that as the mind does not know it. It is always there, always in the mind, but never to be accessible. You can say people cannot access it. Even the Yamanakas have difficulty, but it is the Uzumakis we are talking about. So of course they will know it. As Naruto's eyes widened as he remembered the day, as there were two other people were beside him, both of them with the red hair. One was a boy definitely, and other was a girl, and how his father was looking towards the Nine Tails, as well as the Hiruzen was there, as both of them were standing in the opposite direction, and then both of them slammed their hands into the ground, creating a ceiling array. As Naruto remember, as half of the Nine Tails chakra was in him, and no, it was not half, it was the full, you can say, soul of the Nine Tails, and barely any chakra, and the other half and half simply goes to his siblings. And then he remembers as flashback as Hiruzen was looking towards Minato, are you sure about this plan of yours? As Minato along with Kushina as well as, you can say, Menma and Naruko were there. As Kushina said, yeah, old man, we have already decided it. Naruto will stay in the village and he will play the role of the Jinchuriki of the leaf, while on the other hand, me as well as Minato-kun will take Menma and Naruko and go into the shadows. And we already know that the masked man must come after us, and he will think that Konoha still have his Jinchuriki, and how then we will be able to train the true Jinchurikis to the power, and don't worry, we will come back and then we will deal with this whole thing as Hiruzen said. So, what do you want me to do with young Naruto? Minato, as he said, well, even though I do not wish this life on Naruto, some sacrifices has to be made. After all, he is a Jinchuriki, he is a living sacrifice, and he must sacrifice for the good of village. As Hiruzen nodded wholeheartedly, after all, he was the Hokage, and he understands that how Minato must sacrifice his son, and his son, being his son, has to sacrifice for the good of village. As he said, so you want me to put him in the orphanage? As Kushina simply nodded at that. Of course, he will remain in the orphanage just like Minato-kun was in the orphanage, and then he will become a strong shinobi, and then he will serve the village for the good of the village. As Minato wholeheartedly agreed with it along with Hiruzen. As Naruto remembers the day when he was simply looking towards his parents, not knowing anything, as the flashback ends. And now let us cut back to Jiraiya and Tsunade, who were looking towards Minato, Kushina, as well as Menma and Naruko, as both of them were standing in front of her with smirks on their faces. As Kushina was simply looking towards Tsunade, as she said, so, old lady, you have been able to make Hokage, huh? Well, good for you. But too bad, we are finally back, so Minato-kun will once again become Hokage. As Tsunade was not understanding what is even going on here. These two people should be dead, and who are those other two brats? As Jiraiya was looking as confused as Tsunade, as he said, Minato, how are you alive? I saw your body. As Minato said, well, that was just you can say, the blood clone, nothing more than that. And you already know it, Jiraiya sensei. After all, you're the one who gave me the idea. As Jiraiya was simply looking towards Minato, as he said, but why and how? As Minato smirked, as he said, well, Jiraiya sensei, it was pretty simple. When at that night, we did not have one children, actually, we had triplets, Naruto, Menma, and Naruko. And same with the order, but when it came to being a Jinchuriki, since Naruto only has blonde hair, and both Menma and Naruko had the Uzumaki lineage strong in them, I sealed away 50-50% chakra into both of them, while sealing the soul of the Nine Tails into Naruto, as Tsunade then slammed her face into the table, breaking it apart. And what about Naruto? And why he was not with you guys, and how and why were you not in the village? As Minato simply looked towards her, as he said, well, it's pretty simple, Lady Hokage. As Konoha needed its Jinchuriki, and if the other villages knew we were alive, they would have come after us for revenge. So we simply left him in the village so that the village would have its Jinchuriki, while on the other hand, me and Kushina-chan, along with our both of children who had the power of the Nine Tails sealed inside of them, we took them away into the shadows, and how we were able to train both of them to best of our degree. And now guess what, they can even control 2 tails of worth of 90s chakra, and Menma and Naruko are even able to make the Rasengan, and Naruko also have her mother chakra chains, and they are pretty good shinobi, I think. And now we have the advantage on the masked man along with the other elemental nations, since we are back and Konoha is strong. As Jiraiya could not believe it, as Tsunade growled at that, and you left your child here to suffer after knowing it how the Jinchurikis are treated, just because so that Konoha could have its Jinchuriki. Minato, are you out of your mind? As Minato simply looked towards her, it was for the good of village. As Jiraiya simply could not believe it, it was coming out of the mouth of Minato, but why? As he simply looked towards him, Minato, you must be hiding something else. The kid I knew will not do it just for the village, just tell me already. As Minato said, very well then, I met with Fukasaku as well as Ma, and both of them explained me about the prophecy, and all 4 of us came to the decision that it is either Menma and Naruko, so we must have to train both of them. And since you are a spy master as well as we agreed with the simply Hiruzen, and Hiruzen took over the seat of Hokage once again, and we served the village. And now both Menma and Naruko are ready. If things were to get worse, then prophecy will come into play, and both Menma and Naruko will save the world. As Jiraiya growled at that, as even though that so-called prophecy. Well, it is not a prophecy actually. It was just a premonition which the stupid old toad saw. And even if it was to specifically said that how Jiraiya will be the one to train him, not Minato, not Naruto. As Jiraiya pointed it out, as Minato smiled. But of course, Sensei, you will train both of them. And we never forget that, as Jiraiya was taken aback from it, as he regretted his state, as Tsunade was also pretty angry about this whole situation. Well, while on the other hand, Naruto was simply crying as tears were coming straight out of his eyes. He could not believe it. His parents abandoned him into the village so that Konoha could have a punching bag for itself while taking away his siblings. For what? And so that Konoha could simply have a scapegoat, as well as a Jinchuriki, as pure utter rage started to fill the heart. His mother was a traitor not only to the blood, but then again she betrayed the Uzumaki clan, just like his uncle said. Well, it will not be a surprise if she abandoned him as well. As not to growl at that, as Orochi simply raised an eyebrow at a bit amusement as well as a bit of pity. But then again, his little sister of traitor of a sister who abandoned the Uzumaki clan, and now, she is a part of the Hidden Leaf village. What he can expect from her, huh? She will not treat her children equally. Well, that is something to be expected. As he simply looked towards Naruto as he said, well, now then, since you have already done with your self-pity, it's about time to see if you're ready for something even greater, as Naruto simply looked towards him. But yeah guys, here I will have this part. Hope you guys enjoyed it. For the next part, you guys already know the like goal is going to be, let's see. Well, you guys have still not completed the first part comment goal, but still I will make it easy for you. For this part, the comment goal is going to be only 100 comments and 300 likes. Do that and I shall upload the next part as quick as possible, and who knows, I might upload it today. So it is up to you guys. So yeah guys, please do so, and after it I will try to make the what if Naruto was Satoru Gojo. So wait for it as well. So yeah guys, hope you enjoyed it. Peace, peace and peace, and subscribe. I'm quite near to 10k. Please subscribe.